Believe it or not, the number one mistake that I see beginners making when they're trying to do their first pull-up has very little to do with strength. It's actually proper shoulder mobilization that's holding them back. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Minus the Gym. And for those of you new to the channel, my name's Ryan. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition specialist. And in this video, I'm going to help you get your first pull-up. Now, I'm going to show you the biggest mistake that I see beginners making, or at least in my experience training beginners, and I'm going to give you a few other tips on things you can work on to get your first pull-up. So make sure you watch till the very end because I'm going to share several tips. Believe it or not, the number one mistake that I see beginners making when they're trying to do their first pull-up has very little to do with strength. It's actually proper shoulder mobilization that's holding them back. And what I mean by that is when you do pull-ups, a lot of beginners or people who haven't done a pull-up before, they think it's just a matter of pulling down, and they're using mostly their arms, like their biceps, and they're not putting enough back into it because they don't understand that the lats and rhomboids are really doing a lot of work. And the way that you do that, the way that you engage your back properly, is that your scapula or shoulder blades have to move down and together. How do you work on this? What can you train in order to improve this scapular mobilization so you can do your first pull-up? Well, the first tip I have for you is to do an exercise called scapular pull-ups. And these are going to help strengthen the muscles surrounding your shoulder blades, and it's going to help you be able to depress and retract your scapula. So what you want to do is get beneath your pull-up bar, or in my case, the suspended grips in a doorway, and you want to hang in a dead hang. That means just letting all your weight hang down, and your shoulders should be by your ears because you're just sinking down. And from there, you want to pull, keeping your arms as straight as possible. You want to focus on pulling your shoulder blades down and together. And you should feel your head rise above the shoulders as you activate your scapula. After you hold it for a second, just release and feel your head lower back down, and then repeat this for reps, making sure you give a good squeeze as you pull your shoulder blades down and together with each rep. Additionally, aside from doing this for reps, you can also do scapular pull-ups isometrically, meaning that you activate the scapula, you pull your shoulder blades down and together, and then you just hold that for as long as you can. This exercise alone will teach you proper scapular mobilization for the pull-up. So make sure you practice these, and when you attempt pull-ups, make sure you're thinking about your scapula moving down and together. And that really is what initiates the pull-up and where most of the force is going to come from, at least in the beginning of the movement, to get yourself up and get your chin over the bar. Now let's say you work on scapular pull-ups, you get really good at them, you get strong, you can do 8 or 10 reps in a set, you can hold them for 15, 20 seconds at a time isometrically, but you still can't get a pull-up. Well, in that case, I would say you want to work on negatives. That's my second tip for you. And the reason why you want to work on negatives is because the negative or eccentric phase of any exercise is the phase that's actually breaking down your muscle fibers, putting micro tears in the muscle fibers, which then forces them to repair stronger as you rest. So by working on the negative, even if you can't do a full pull-up, you're going to build strength and eventually get the strength to do a complete pull-up. Now, in order to practice negatives, you're going to need some sort of chair or stool or ottoman. And I have these weird things. I don't even know what this thing is, to be honest, but we use it as an ottoman. And I'm going to stand on these when I demonstrate for you. So what you do is you stand on some sort of stable platform to help you get up over the bar or the grips that you're using to do your pull-ups. You get into a bent arm hang, holding yourself at the top position, and then you slowly lower down. And do this as slow as you can. Make sure as you lower down that you're properly reversing the whole movement. So aside from feeling your elbows extend, as you near the bottom, you also want to feel your shoulder blades moving apart and up. So that's the opposite of the down and together that we talked about in the concentric phase. After you get down to the bottom, you want to step back up on your platform, get your chin over the bar or grips, and then do another rep. And how many reps? Well, I recommend like at least 3 to 5 reps in a set. And you want to try to build up to a nice slow 8-second negative. Once you get to an 8-second negative, I really think you should have the strength to do your first pull-up. Now, literally every beginner I've trained sways back and forth on the bar when they start doing negatives. So if that's happening to you, if you're kind of waving back and forth and you can't keep your body still, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. I actually have an entire video, I'll put the link up here, on how to stop swinging when doing pull-ups. But The short answer is you want to engage what's called total body tension. That is to be contracting muscles in your core and your legs as well as your back, which is already engaged because you're hanging. So it's really about just tension throughout the whole kinetic chain, and that's going to prevent you from swinging. So make sure you check out that video if you're struggling with that. Now let's say you work on your scapular pull-ups. You can properly mobilize the scapula. You do negatives, right? You can do nice slow negatives so you have the strength, but you still can't get your first pull-up. Well, I actually recently trained someone who had this trouble, and the answer to bridge that gap was resistance bands, okay? Just get a resistance band like this, nice and thin. It doesn't have to be a really thick one. In fact, I don't recommend you use a thick one. You want to use as light of a band as possible so it's not assisting you too much. And what you do is you put it around your bar and then thread it through itself. So you're kind of tying it in a little knot around the bar. And then pull it down and step in it, and then have that assistance. The tension of the band will assist you in doing pull-ups. And make sure if you're using a light band, you're still doing most of the work, and make sure you're still depressing and retracting the scapula. So you're doing, proper scapular mobilization, and this will bridge the gap between negatives and your first pull-up. Not everybody needs to use a band. All right, I've had people go straight from negatives to their first pull-up, but then some people, they need that extra stepping stone, so they use the bands for a week or two, and then boom, they get their first pull-up. All right, last piece of advice I have for you is if you're carrying a lot of extra body fat, you're gonna wanna try to drop some of that before you do your first pull-up, all right? Because it's just working against you. It really is. It's like if you were to learn bench press or deadlift, it's like you'd be learning the exercise with plates on the bar, right? And that's not how it works. If I'm gonna show someone how to bench press or deadlift, I'm gonna just use a bar. I'm not gonna have any weight on there. Well, with body weight exercise, that's kind of how it works for people who are overweight. It's like you're trying to learn an exercise with a lot of extra weight on the bar, and that's not ideal. So, and I know I'm not the most, shredded guy in fitness and on YouTube. I mean, I don't even have a six-pack typically. It's not usually that defined. So you don't have to be shredded. I'm not saying you got to get down to 8% body fat or anything. But if you're up there, if you're at like 18% body fat or higher, then all that extra weight's working against you. So I have a video on how to start calisthenics when you're overweight, and the advice in that video would probably help. I'm going to put the link on the screen if you want to check out that video. All right, with the advice in this video, seriously, that's all you need to know. You can get your first pull-up. Anyone can get their first pull-up using this advice. So work on your scapular pull-ups, build up your strength with negatives, use the bands if you need to, if negatives don't take you to a pull-up. But remember that biggest mistake. The biggest mistake is that people who've never done a pull-up before don't understand that it's really about pulling those shoulder blades down and together. That's really gonna help you engage the lats, and that's where most of your strength is gonna come from. All right, I hope this helped. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. All right, I love hearing from you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Talk to you later.